of Red Deer. So, and then we go, I don't know how far east we go. We go east a fair bit, but it's nice because we got this, talk to a lot of big families and that around in the area, and I do home meetings just like this, and the families are about this size, and what starts off as hoping for a 1 hour meeting ends up being a 3 hour, 3.5 hour laughing, and we're having fun. Well, it's community, and that's what I've been telling everybody. We need to get back to family. We need to get back to community. My background, I'll give you a little bit about my background. So I'm a veteran, spent my time with the Canadian Airborne Regiment and the PPCLI. I've been all over the world, literally. I've trained with the British SAS, the American Special Forces. So I understand that element of it. Hi, welcome. I work federal corrections. So I've worked maximum security right down to minimum security. I understand firearms. I understand crime. I understand addiction. I understand mental health issues. All of these things are tied together. If we got back to family and community, we would reduce crime. We would reduce the mental health issues. We would reduce the addiction issues that we have in the community. We've gotten so far away from respecting each other and respecting choices that it's for me, it's disappointing, because I don't know about you, but I like going, I watch videos every now and then, and I'll watch, what do they call it? America's Got Talent or something like that. And, I particularly enjoy that because I get to even for a moment, I get to celebrate somebody's successes. We've moved away from that. It's freedom of choice, right? Like, you choose to wear a mask, and it's my job to respect that, right? At the end of the day, if you want to wear a mask, that's your choice. But, when it comes to the mandatory vaccine, we'll not support mandatory vaccinations and the vaccine passports.
That's why we made the decision we did.
Exactly. There's a number of them, right? I was thinking today, after Jason Kenney's announcement here this afternoon, I'm sitting there going, man, what are we gonna do about all this? And my position is this: and Maxine has said it very, very clearly, if we achieve government here, we're gonna fire Theresa Tam. Right? Well, I quite honestly, I'd like to take it a step further. I would like to take it a step further in Alberta, and I'd like to take it a step further in Canada. And quite honestly, I'd like to have them brought up on charges of crimes against humanity.
No question.
So there's a lot of different things that we can do, but we have to, right now, everybody, like the Conservatives, Trudeau, they're all creating what I call silos, groups of people, and pitting us against each other. Why? We respected each other at one point, many, many years ago. We supported each other. We encouraged each other. We don't see that anymore, and it's so disheartening. We need to get back, like I said, back to family. I've got a pretty big family, just so you're all aware. So I've got 21 aunts and uncles on one side and 18 on the other. I've got more cousins than I know, quite literally. Give you an example. So I played junior football. I went to BC to play junior football. Showed up in BC, and this guy comes up to me and goes, "Are you Kelly?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then we started there talking, and I'm like, "Who are you? Like, how do you know me?" "Oh, I'm your cousin." I have no idea who you are, but nice to meet you, So, there's a lot of different, like, I can sit here and talk to you guys all night about what we can offer the People's Party. I prefer to do it differently. I prefer to talk to you about what you want to hear, what's important to you. In this community, we believe We talk firearms. That's a big issue in this riding as well. I used to competitively shoot in the military. I like my firearms. One of the things that we want to do is we want to take the firearms and rate them based off of their capability, not how they look. We had the Liberal candidate in Red Deer when we did the Red Deer College event where they canceled it on us again. And so 6 of us went outside and we continued the debate outside. Noticeably absent was Mr. Dreeshen and Blaine Hawkins. They decided to leave. I'm sure you all heard about the event that happened in Innisfil. Anti-maskers, you know. I'm going to tell you something. I went there. I'm a member of the Legion. So I said to them, look, I have a medical exemption for my time in the military, which I do. No, we're not accepting that. Odd, but okay. So you got to wear a mask. And I wasn't about to fight with them about it. So I had bought one of those clear chin shields. Do you know what I mean? No, you can't wear that either. What do you mean you can't wear that either? It's not approved by Alberta Health. So now they're trying to tell you what kind of mask you can wear. I can tell you, no mask works for a virus. No mask. If you want to be completely safe, you got to wear a hazmat suit with a breather. Okay.
Forced here.
Pardon?
You gotta have a forced here breathing on.
Right, exactly. So I'm going to give you an example. So when I was in the military, it used to be, and a lot of you might remember this, it used to be that the military used to be the guinea pigs for experimental vaccinations. Now they've turned it to society. But when I was in, I received quite a few experimental vaccinations. I received, who's familiar with melifloquine? Melifloquine is an anti-malaria drug that they gave us, but unfortunately it was experimental and there's a lot of side effects to it. So there's 10. I suffer from 9 out of the 10. And what this does, it sits in your lymph nodes and it actually takes your spinal column and it turns it into Swiss cheese. So my 2 major side effects from that is nightmares. So a lot of soldiers that took melifloquine actually have murdered their spouses because of the nightmares that are so vivid and so real. I literally used to jump over top of my wife to protect her from whatever I was seeing in my dreams. You know, and that was scary. It was scary for her, and it was scary for me because most of the time I didn't remember. She would tell me the next morning. But the one thing that I suffer from the most is my esophagus. It closes. We can't figure out why. Anything can trigger it. Rice, coffee, anything. And when it closes up, it closes up. Nothing goes down, saliva, nothing comes up. And it hurts. And so it can last between an hour, and the longest that I've had it last is actually 48 hours. I was actually considering going to the hospital to have my esophagus open so I could eat, because nothing goes up, nothing goes down. So like I said, I've been all over the world. My last tour was in Rwanda. I've seen mass genocide firsthand. Prior to going to Rwanda, I was given a mild strain of Ebola. My body built up an immunity to Ebola. Ebola's got a 25% death rate. If my body can build up an immunity to Ebola with a 25% death rate, it can sure as heck build up an immunity to COVID-19 at less than 1%. So these restrictions, why, like, what's the reasoning for all of these restrictions? It's control. It's
Fascism.
exactly. We're trying to. Pierre Poilievre said it very, very clearly in the House of Commons. You will own nothing and you will be happy. And that's exactly what Trudeau is trying to do. But this isn't just Trudeau. I used to be a Conservative member. I had bought my memberships with the Conservative Party for years and years until Max started up the People's Party. How many people have seen the video that Aaron O'Toole put out over Twitter that has Justin Trudeau, Aaron O'Toole, Jagmeet Singh, the Bloc leader and the Green leader, all five of them in the same room together on the same video promoting the vaccinations? It's absolutely disgusting, right? You're pushing something that people clearly don't want. Nurses, our frontline workers, a lot of people are scared for their jobs, and rightly so. Same with me. I worked in federal corrections. I told them that I'm not coming back. I keep getting these emails, when are you coming back, when are you coming? I'm not coming back. You're not going to, the difference for the prison system is if, they can literally, if they're short staffed, they can literally lock you in the prison. And I'm not an inmate, so I'm not staying there. Right? So that's sort of how that, for me, worked. Give you a little bit more background about my family. So I've got 5 kids. My oldest is 32, and she lived on the streets for 2 years. Thought the grass was greener on the other side. Finally, I drove the streets for 2 years looking for my daughter, only to learn that I wasn't even in the right city, but I still made that effort. She put herself through high school, and then she put herself through college, and she's now a psych nurse and works helping people in the community. Yeah. My youngest daughter just had my first grandson. Can't wait to get to see him on Friday. Yeah. I'm sorry? You know what? I'm so excited because he's got the same attitude as me, and it's awesome. I love it. But I'm excited because my wife has never met him. He's almost 5 months old, and my wife hasn't met him yet, and I'll get to my wife here in a second. And so my oldest stepson is 21, and he just finished his second year of pre-med. And then my son lives in the UK with his mother. And then my other son, my stepson, works in the oil patch. So of course this is all very, very important to me. My wife right now has been in Saskatchewan for since February. So I really haven't, this whole campaign period, I haven't seen her at all. She's been in Saskatchewan. What she's doing there is we're opening up a business in northern Saskatchewan to take care of severely brain damaged children. We'll have probably 10 kids that are coming to our care. We'll have nurses and everything else like that. But that's, for us, is very rewarding. It's giving back to the community and helping. What else do we want to talk about here? Questions initially?
Where in northern Saskatchewan?
Just outside of north of Prince Albert and Christopher Lake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So let's see. The People's Party. We're the only party right now that wants to get pipelines going. We're going to force pipelines on Quebec. We're going to use the Constitution under Section 9210, and Quebec doesn't have a choice. They can take it to court, but because it falls under the Constitution, we can say that it's for the betterment of the country, for the unification of the country. There's no choice. I'm going to challenge you all here a little bit. Sorry, I'm pretty sure you weren't expecting me to ask you questions. When was the last time the Constitution was used to create or change a border? 1997, they created the territory of Nunavut, right? So here's just sort of thinking outside of the box. Why, if we can't, even if, let's say right now, there's options for Trudeau and there's options for O'Toole and all of these people. Why wouldn't you use the Constitution, change your borders from your most northern border from BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, come in 50 kilometers, create a corridor to tidewater both in the Pacific and Hudson Bay? It's doable. They just don't want to have Alberta's best interests at heart. That's pure and simple.
They want to take advantage of it.
They want to take advantage of us. So Jason Kenney had, I think it was 9 fair deal panels right across Alberta. How many of those events do you think Earl showed up to? None. How many events do you think any member of the Conservative Party showed up to? None of them. I showed up to 6 out of 9. And the only reason I couldn't get to the other 3 is because I was sick, I had a cold, and it was just a long ways to go for a cold. Equalization was a huge, pardon?
Tribute.
Yeah.
It's more tribute now than equalization.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into that, but I agree with you 100%. But equalization is a huge, we're going into a referendum here in Alberta on the 18th of October. I hate to tell you this, it's smoke and mirrors. There's absolutely not a thing that we can do as a province to change the equalization. This is a waste of money on Jason Kenney's part. The only way that the only way that we can change the equalization is through the federal government. So I've asked Max, because Max has been there, what's it take to change the equalization formula? Kelly, it's simple. If we form government, caucus meets at 9 o'clock on Wednesday morning, and by noon, we come out with a new formula. I said, great, what are we going to do with it? Well, we're going to include Quebec Hydro in that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We're going to encourage the provinces that this isn't a forever deal, because for us, it's like a welfare trap. The more money we give the provinces, the less they want to explore. Right, they need to start exploring their own natural resources and making their own money, right? So I said, okay, well, what would you be considering giving to Quebec? During this, he says maybe $2, maybe $3 billion a year. Well, that's a huge difference from the 24 billion. Mm-hmm. And he's very, very clear. This isn't a forever thing. This is like almost like a temporary loan kind of thing. And we need to encourage other what they call have-not provinces. Not baloney. They're not have-not. They're just too lazy to create their own natural resources and get it to market. Yeah. Even provincially here, so I put just so you all are aware, I put my money where my mouth is. I sat on the board of governors for the Wild Rose Independence Party. I believe in fighting for Alberta, 100%. I told Max right at the beginning of this, thank you. I told Max right at the beginning of this campaign that I was going to run on Alberta Matters. And that's what we've been running on, because it does matter. It has to matter. We are the heart of this country. We're the heartbeat. And without Alberta's oil and gas, this country, we've already seen, we're struggling. Another thing that we want to do as a party is we want to abolish the Indian Act. The Indian Act is just like equalization. And I talked to a chief. So on Saturday, I was up in Edmonton with Max. I had to do a press conference on our policy when it comes to the Indigenous people here in Canada. And the chief there is 100% on board. And every offender that I've talked to in the prison system, when I get the chance to talk to them, I have nothing. And so what have I got to live? I joined the gangs because I can get something. If we abolish the Indian Act, it's just like the wealth, we're setting them up to fail through through the Indian Act. We give them property. We give them a sense of ownership. We give them a sense of belonging and contributing to society. A lot of them want that. So again, we're moving in the right way. We get a lot of questions about housing and housing prices. You all know that Mr. Trudeau is coming after your primary residence. I know that because that's what I have to educate myself, but I'm trying to protect myself with because I'll be damned if I'm going to give him what I've worked so hard to achieve when it comes to my primary residence. It's just not going to happen. So, pardon me?
I said, same with the guns.
Oh, the guns. That's my favorite subject. I like my guns, but you're absolutely right. Like I said, what we want to do is we want the guns to be rated based off of their capability, not what they look like. You know, military grade assault rifles have not been permitted for sale in Canada since 1967. So, you know, AR, what does AR stand for? Does anybody know? No, it does not stand for assault rifle. AR stands for Armalite Rifle Company. It's the name of the company. Okay, so you have Bill Blair. Who knows anything about Bill Blair? Bill Blair used to be the police chief in Toronto. Okay, so in his infinite wisdom, let's create this gun ban and gun grab and let's go after all of these guns, completely ignoring the statistics. 98.7% of all illegal firearms come through Toronto. And where was he police chief? Toronto. I've talked.
His signs.
Well, when they come for our houses and our property and our children and everything else, they don't want us to be armed to protect ourselves. It's that simple.
Well, you look at around the world. It's the same. It's the same gun grab. It's the same. Australia, New Zealand, that they don't want to give up their firearms. And I'll be the first to admit, that's why I mentioned your hat. I wear a hat when I'm not out doing this, and it's got an AR-15 on it, and it says, come and take it.
Yeah.
Right? I will stand up to the RCMP because they're wrong. Like, I just saw an ad, I think it was on Facebook, of all places, and it was the Alberta Police Federation or something like that, saying that we need more RCMP. We don't need more RCMP, we just need them to stop enforcing a stupid mask mandate.
Yeah.
Like, you have a job to do, enforce the criminal code. You know, Earl was at the town hall in Innisfil. I can't believe this was his comment, but he did say it. So, and it was in the newspaper. Earl was challenged. Earl, you're our government. What's your position on masks? And Earl snapped. I'm not the government. He's yelling at these people. I'm the opposition. And I'm like, well, hold on a second. Earl, in this riding, you are the government representative for the people of this riding. If you're not the government, then who is?
He's proven that nobody.
Well, Earl's been in government now for 14 years. He's going to retire as the wealthiest backbencher in Canadian history. He's never held a portfolio. He's never held a shadow cabinet position. Well, what are you doing there?
Collecting a paycheck.
Go back far enough as a teacher.
Well, right, and you know what?
Why go back far enough as a teacher to want to be a farmer?
Neither those worked out.
You know what?
Because now he's an MP.
I hear that all the time. Earl was my teacher. That's great. Honestly, I have nothing but respect for that. Great, you're a great teacher. So I'm going to ask you this: and from what I understand, math, Earl's like this math whiz. Okay, that's the way it's been explained to me. Earl, if you're this math whiz, can you explain to Aaron O'Toole? So this is Aaron O'Toole's logic. First of all, he's on the same lines as Justin Trudeau, that the budget is going to balance itself. I'm not entirely sure how, but Aaron O'Toole's logic is this. They're going to balance the budget in 10 years. But each term is only 4 years. So basically you're saying you need 3 terms to balance the budget. It's ridiculous. That math just doesn't add up.
Well, the budget will balance itself.
Apparently. So, pardon me?
Is it not true that Canada is bankrupt, we cannot borrow no more money?
It's absolutely true.
Gold is crashing hard, which is going to affect inflation everywhere.
So, there's a couple, I don't know if you're all aware of this, there's a couple thoughts as to why Justin Trudeau called this election. Especially when every member of parliament sat down and voted 100% unanimously to not have an election during the pandemic. Yet here we are. But there's two frames of thought on that. So the first one is Justin Trudeau called this election because he's got 2 people nipping at his feet for the leadership of the Liberal Party. Chrystia Freeland and some other dude. Lesser of 2 evils as far as I'm concerned, or 3 evils, whatever you want. And the other one is that in October of this year, the Bank of Canada's rules come up for renewal, and Justin Trudeau has the opportunity to change the rules for the Bank of Canada and remove the cap on inflation.
Oh, great.
Because you have to bank up Canada in order to enter into.
Well, okay, I'm going to ask you this. How much gold does Canada have left in the bank for the Bank of Canada?
No, 0.
0. Trudeau sold it all to China. Yep, exactly. So I talked to Max again on Saturday because I was thinking, okay, because Max wants to get back to what we call the gold standard to back our Canadian dollar, which makes sense.
Donald Trump, that's his plan too. Yeah.
Right. But when China owns all the gold, it's kind of hard to get back to the gold standard. Us Albertans were pretty resourceful. We have this other thing called liquid gold, oil. Why don't we back the Canadian, why doesn't Alberta back the Canadian dollar with our oil and gas?
Because Trudeau, he's buying it more than.
In Saudi Arabia.
So the oil's coming in and we're not allowed to sell it to you.
Right, but that's where, we need to start fighting for Canada. At this point right now, we've got nobody fighting for Canada. I would say,
Trudeau not totally invested in foreign oil and SNC Lavalin or SCM Lavalin.
he's actually the owner of probably, or a shareholder of one of the biggest oil companies in the world out of Saudi Arabia. So he's benefiting from this left, right, and hand over fist.
No way he's going to let Alberta oil into our own country when he's getting paychecks from them.
Right. So we all know what Jason Kenney has been thinking and doing today and over the last few weeks. And I got to thinking, and forgive me, it's the military in me. I don't make any excuses for my military background. I'm very proud of my military background. And I believe at this point right now, Canadians need a wartime leader. We need a wartime leader that's going to fight for Canada and get Canada back on the world stage where we need to be. And I think that's Max. I believe that's Max 100%. I haven't heard of any other leader saying the things that we need to say, or have the platform to put Canadians first. You talked about the budget, balancing the budget. The People's Party of Canada will balance the budget in 4 years. We're going to use one term to balance that budget. How are we going to do that? We're going to defund the CBC. We're going to stop all funding towards the United Nations. We're going to stop all funding of corporate welfare, meaning bailouts from Bombardier and such. If you own a business, nobody's coming to bail you out. So Max's philosophy is this: if you can't come up with a business plan that's successful, there's going to be somebody behind you that will. So why should the government bail you out? We're going to stop all of the financial transfers that are going out around the world. whatever that China, like right now, the Canada pension plan, sorry to tell you that it doesn't exist because Trudeau used the money to invest it in building pipelines in China.
Yeah.
How's that for logic for you? Won't build pipelines here.
UN did not give $500 million to all them black countries to try and get into the UN.
He did, and he failed.
Yes, but also bankruptcies in the meantime.
Yeah. So
Gender studies in Muslim countries.
yes,
Yeah.
you know.
That makes sense.
Oh, trust me, I've seen a lot of this. Like, so we'll talk a little bit just to give you guys an idea of the corruption of the United Nations. Everybody here has heard of UNICEF, correct?
Yes.
What do you suppose out of every dollar goes to those kids? And I've seen these kids in the shanty towns, okay? I actually, before I answer that, what I was going with, I've actually sat with a little girl in Kampala, Uganda. Okay, she was crying, and of course the dad in me, she's crying, her nose is running, so I sit down and I wipe her nose and I wipe her tears, and I've got candy with me, so we sit down and I give her some candy, and I ask the locals, why is she crying and why is she alone? This little girl had leprosy, right? So she was suffering from that, and everybody was, she was alone. She loved the fact that I sat down and just spent some time with her, right? It's just, the world is just crazy at this moment.
3 cents.
Pardon?
3 cents.
So, yeah. So, okay, back to the UNICEF. What do you suppose for every dollar that you give to UNICEF goes to those kids?
5 cents.
Sorry?
5 cents.
It's closer to 5 cents for every dollar. So 95 cents out of every dollar, where do you suppose it goes? Some of it goes to management. Would you believe a majority of that dollar goes to mercenaries? I know that because I've worked with the mercenaries. It goes to protect the food that's over there. But here's an interesting fact. So I was with my campaign manager in Calgary in 2019, who was from Kenya. Do you know that when we're shipping food over to Kenya, a full boatload, prior to coming into port, they will dump half the boat out into the ocean? Because when you are more worried about how you're going to feed your family, you're less likely to fight back against the government.
And that's what's coming here.
It is coming here, and you want to know why? How it's coming here? So Trudeau has come up with a restriction on farmers. They have to use 30% less fertilizer to grow their crops. 30% less fertilizer means 30% less food that they can grow. Farmers are paying carbon tax and they're paying GST on that carbon tax. So now farmers are making less money. But the kicker to this is Trudeau we're making 30% less food. He wants to increase food imports by 50% to foreign countries. Pardon? Export. Again, what I just told you about Kenya, if you're worried about how you're going to feed your family, then you're less likely to fight back against your government. The time is now to stop this. The time is now to stand up. I call it drawing a line in the sand. Now is the time to draw a line in the sand and start fighting back.
How do we do that with the ethics commission finding Trudeau guilty and many others, but yet nothing happens?
Right.
I thought the ethics commissioner has found him guilty several times on several charges.
Sure. So I'm not going to say.
Because there is no ethics commissioner looking after Canadians no longer.
You're right.
If they can find him guilty, he brought in Lucky, who is police chief of all the RCMP.
Not much longer.
And she actually.
I can.
No.
No. You're absolutely right. Brenda Lucky will not be commissioner of the RCMP for much longer.
Because how does that go when
Pardon?
politicians?
How do I know that? Because I know of an investigation going on right now that's going to throw Brenda Lucky under the bus.
Yeah.
So I can't get into details on that, but and the only reason I know about the investigation is because a friend of mine is doing the investigation, right? So.
Why
why aren't there consequences like Trudeau?
There's going to be. Trudeau, so Max was asked that question very, very clearly up in Edmonton. What are you going to do about Justin Trudeau and all of these violations? He's going to direct the RCMP, there'll be a new commissioner, direct the RCMP to actually look at and formally charge Justin Trudeau and anybody else that has caused these issues for Canadians.
Okay, what about local, Jason Kennedy enforcing mask mandates when we know the only way you can stop the virus is.
But this is why I was saying to you, we need to have some changes where we start, so provincially, the people of Alberta need to vote smartly,
Yeah.
right? And that's where these changes, I firmly believe that Dana Henshaw should be charged,
Absolutely.
okay? But who put Dana Henshaw in place? I'm going to talk a little bit about Alberta. Sorry, because I've spent so much time with the Wild Rose and I'm right through from the last election till now, I have a lot of information obviously on Alberta as well. But who put Dana Henshaw in place? Pardon?
Trudeau.
Rachel Notley.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
So who's pushing a lot of these masks? So I'm standing up. Notley is right, but I've been standing up for nurses. Okay, so United Nurses of Alberta is pushing very, very hard for mandatory vaccinations and mask mandates against their memberships. Okay, this is just the union executives doing this. What did Rachel Notley do before getting into politics?
Well,
Is she
isn't
not
her,
married to the,
isn't her husband the head of the union?
But she was a lawyer,
Yeah.
and Rachel Notley actually was the legal counsel for United Nurses of Alberta.
Isn't her husband the head of the union?
Heather Smith is of UNA. I'm sure he's probably. Oh, he probably is. Oh, you know what? He probably is.
Involved with AUPE.
I think that's AUPE or
Yeah.
is it Yeah,
Alberta Union.
yeah, that's right. I believe that's who he's with. But still, we need to get back to smaller government. Max wants to give the power back to the provinces, so the provinces are accountable to you. And stop the finger pointing from the provinces and going, well, this is Ottawa's fault, right? It's ridiculous. Less government, smaller government, more accountability to the provinces or to the people of the province, and then vice versa. The government of Canada should be responsible for running the country, foreign trade, the military, that sort of thing. That's what Max wants. Hi.
Just a quick question.
Yep.
Kind of goes with what we're talking about.
Sure.
And I know you can't really guess at this because we're, but what is the party's success looking like in the East?
In the East?
Because the East seems to designate what Canada gets every time.
Yeah.
in an election.
Isn't it out of 306 parliamentary people, there's 200 in Ontario and Quebec alone?
Yeah.
It's already done before.
You're talking about number of seats, or are you talking about for the PPC?
Yes, number
Well,
of seats.
And my question is how is the People's Party looking, like how is our success rate looking?
You know what? I don't trust the polls because they don't, but I can honestly tell you this. From 2019 till now, I've never, ever seen this kind of support across the country.
So that's kind of where my
Yeah.
question was, is are you guys seeing a tremendous amount of support across Canada?
Across Canada.
Or is it just spotty? Like, is the East actually really supporting your party?
They are.
Because if they are, then we have a chance.
We do have a chance, okay? I wouldn't tell you that if I didn't believe that 100%. This is what I believe, and I'll get just 1 second here. Justin Trudeau is going to win a minority government. We already know that. Unless something happens here in this this purple tsunami happens, like now. And people are, again, this is my military in me, so forgive me. People are pissed off.
Yes.
Okay?
Right.
They're very, and rightly so. And like I said, even in this riding, I've never seen this kind of support in this riding, which is fantastic. So Max's riding, I believe 100% Max is going to win his riding back again.
How can we guarantee that with Dominion counts the votes?
We're not using Dominion machines.
I know we don't use the machines, but
Yeah.
Dominion still counts the votes.
No,
No?
people count the votes. So what I'm looking for right now is I've got about 100 polling stations in this riding. So I need 100 volunteers, to what we call scrutinizers, to go and actually help. What they do is they watch the people counting the ballots, and then if there's a ballot that is sort of questionable, they'll bring it up to the scrutinizers. Do we accept this or not? And then the scrutinizers say yes or no. Okay. The challenge that I have is in this riding, we're expecting about 10,000 mail-in ballots. That's going to take about 4 days to count. So that means I need 4 people or one person, whoever wants to do it, over 4 days to help us. The way that works, because I challenged this right off the hop. So what happens is you go to a polling station, or you ask, first of all, you ask for a mail-in ballot. And let's say you're from Bowden. So you'd be voting here. There'd be a polling station here. So if you've asked for a ballot, a mail-in ballot, and you go to the polling station here in Bowden, your name should be taken off of that list. Okay. If you go, well, I'm supposed to still vote. I want to vote. They'll write your name down. When you send your mail-in ballots in, your name will be on your mail-in ballots. They'll take that, they'll compare it. If your name shows up on the list at the polling station, your mail-in ballot gets thrown out. If it doesn't show up, then they all go through, and that's how they count the votes that way. That's why it takes so long, because they're going to compare your name. Yeah.
I just want to make a comment about the district support. I grew up in Chatham, which is a little wild country, farm country in southeastern Ontario. And about 3 weeks ago, I wrote a satirical Facebook post on vaccine passports. Somebody in Windsor, Essex, picked it up and asked me to join their group on a business that's pretty much anti-mandate when it comes to vaccine passports. So I've been following this group, and I have a connection to it because Windsor, Essex is the next county over from where I grew up. And I'm hearing nothing about, except it's all PPC, and now people are supporting the PPC. People that are in unions, people that are liberal, NDP, Green, like it's blowing my mind, the messages I'm reading.
Mm-hmm.
So the support is.
The support is there.
Like you were saying, Kelly, a lot of polls you can take with a grain of salt, but 2 different polls that were published yesterday said there's a very good chance that PPC could take out the NDP.
Oh yeah, right now.
And so when the media is so obsessed with controlling the narrative, and like the fact that information actually got out, got actually on a piece of paper, is very amazing.
It is. What I've been telling everybody is this. For me, the people of Alberta are smart. We've had protest votes before. We voted in the NDP. We got our ass kicked for it, but we did it to send a message. Oh, it's all good. So if we think about it, let's think about it from that sort of perspective. If the people of Alberta did a protest vote and voted in 20 to 25 members of parliament from Alberta, Alberta would hold the balance of power in Ottawa.
Yeah. That's why the PPC.
You want change here in Alberta? How much easier can it get than that?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
There is no choice here in Alberta.
There is no choice. So I'm going to...
Everybody I talk to, there is no
Yeah.
choice. We already voted for you. That's
Yeah.
why we decided
Thank
not
you.
to be.
No, but think about it this way. So a Conservative member of Parliament, because they're still considered a member of Parliament until after this election is done. A Conservative member of Parliament in Northern Alberta just endorsed the PPC. He's on his way out. I mean, holy smokes. But what you don't understand in that, this Conservative MP had a team of 200 people. They all went to the PPC candidate. The UCP MLA in that area lost his entire team, another 200 volunteers, and they all went to the People's Party again.
Right.
People are done.
Yes, people are done.
Like today's announcement, as far as I'm concerned, was the final nail in the coffin for Jason Kenney.
What was it?
More restrictions, the vaccine passports, and all of this stuff. If you, yeah, exactly. So,
Be sure to take a picture of your papers so you can go places.
and that's exactly it. Maxine said on the weekend, it's how ridiculous is this? I have to, I can travel this place, that place, but I have to show a passport in order to go to a church or to a restaurant. Like, that makes no sense at all. The government, give me just 1 second, then I'll answer your question. The government needs to stay out of your home, needs to stay out of your bedroom, and needs to stay out of your church.
Right.
End of story.
If you guys don't get the political club that you need, what do you recommend to people to protect the constitutional freedoms with everything that's going on from the passports to the infringement of our rights?
Yeah, so contact JCCF, the Justice Center. They're actually taking the Alberta government to court over this. They're taking the BC government to court over this. So they're fighting for Canadians right now. I'm standing up 100% behind our frontline workers and our nurses. I will literally go to jail for our frontline staff. I will fight for them. I will be their voice if that's what they want. My intention, if I don't win, honestly, I'm going to be shocked if I don't win in this riding, but I've been shocked before. So I thought the same thing when I was going against Michelle Rempel in 2019. But my intention is this. Even if I don't win, I'm still going to continue to fight for the people of Alberta. We have to. If we don't, we're just going to get walked all over and this is done.
One of the things that people can do is support the Justice Center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of
Write a
people
check.
don't realize that it's a charity.
It,
They
yeah,
don't realize
that's
that
right.
you get 30% of your money back
Yep.
for supporting them. And if all of us that believe this way gave them $10 a month,
Yep.
they want to hire lawyers. They don't have enough money to do this.
yeah, it's purely, they're doing it on their own dime at this point. Well, for lack of a better term anyways. So yeah, that's the easiest way. Do we need to keep fighting? Oh, absolutely, because the moment we stop, we're done.
Well, yeah, I don't think there's no doubt that we need to keep fighting, right? But you just look at it from a strategy standpoint and consistent abuse of our rights.
Mm-hmm.
And the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, I think, is a great choice. You know, I've written my MLA multiple times, both altercations.
Have they responded?
Yeah.
Really?
I messaged Earl 8 months ago on vaccine passports, and he, no vaccine passport, and then even Devin, as well, and contacted both of them, but it's just that slippery slope that we keep going down, and based on my experience and the people that I'm exposed to, there's a huge amount of people that are under a lot of fear and a lot of stress, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, it gets to a point where when people are under that much stress that, you wonder what's going to happen.
Yeah, and this is what I was saying before, we need to start getting back to dealing with the mental health issues that this is causing, because the addiction issues as well, right? Because
with my contacts, I've had age 12 to 19, I've had nine kids commit suicide.
exactly.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about the suicide rates that have gone up. Nobody's, we're talking cases. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of hearing cases. It's not,
Yeah.
Deaths anymore.
it's cases, right? We don't talk about cases on anything else.
Yeah.
Literally. We don't talk about the number of cases that we're dealing with AIDS. We don't talk about TB. We don't talk about anything else.
And nobody can ask you if you've had it.
Well, okay, so I'm going to give you a perfect example, this vaccine passport. Okay, so like I said, I work in the prison system, or used to. So there are times when offenders get fairly angry and they will throw urine and feces at officers. We get it, and it's purposely to do that, right? We'll get it in our faces and our eyes and our mouth. It's quite disgusting. But as an officer, we have to go to the hospital, and then they give us a cocktail that literally kills every bacteria in your body. It makes you so sick. And the reason that we have to do that is because the inmates don't have to provide the correctional officers with their medical history.
Yeah.
So inmates don't have to do it, but we have to do it if we want to go to the movie theater?
Exactly.
How is that logical? But it's true. Absolutely it is. I mean, I used to be a union president, okay, so I understand unions, and I understand that there's a need for unions. I won't ever go away from that. There is a need for unions, but that's because of the members. What I don't agree with on a provincial level and a federal level is the government collecting your union dues to pay to your unions. When that means that your union executive is not accountable to your membership anymore, because they're still going to get their money whether you like it or not, right? There has to be some level of accountability, just like in government. Questions? Yeah.
If the court systems are corrupt, which from my studies, they seem to be very much right across the country.
Court system?
Yes,
Yep.
the judges, they seem.
No, I want to make sure I hear you, because I have just so you aware, I wear hearing aids, so sometimes I might ask you to repeat the question.
So I don't think we can depend on getting out of this situation we're in.
Yeah.
Using the legal system. I really don't believe in that.
Yep. So we were asked that same question up in Edmonton when I was with Max. So funny, I'll get into that as well. It was a funny story because I went to help Max. I got a message on Friday night about 12:30. You're going to Edmonton to do a press conference with Max tomorrow morning. Okay, fine. So I'm up at 6 o'clock. I went to help my team set up at the farmer's market, and I fired off to Edmonton. They sent me to the wrong location, so I had to find where everybody was, and I finally got there. I was about 10, 15 minutes late, and the first event was in Greasebaugh. Well, what's in Greasebaugh? The base, the military base. So I'm sitting there, and I'm trying to get things organized for the event, and then Max is starting to take questions. First question, what are you going to do for veterans? Well, Max goes, well, just a second. Kelly's here. Kelly helped write the veterans platform. Let him tell you. I'm like, oh, great, you know. So he threw me under the bus and was like, oh, wasn't expecting to speak, but great. Same thing happened. A guy asked a question about the justice system. Max looked at me. What are you going to do? I can write a policy for the justice system, so we're going to create a policy, a platform policy on revamping the justice system. Yeah. So, well, fix the revolving door. How judges are selected, because probably a lot of you don't realize that the judges are selected based off of the amount that they contribute to the Liberal Party. True story. Are you all familiar with the fact that 190, and this, Earl has been totally silent on this, 192 laws were changed from an indictable offense, which is 10 years, to a summary conviction, which is less than 2 years. You don't even have to show up at court to give your fingerprints. So you don't. Some of those offenses that were changed: pedophilia, abduction of a child under 14, abduction of a child under 16, terrorism.
That's disgusting.
It's absolutely disgusting.
Like, that is absolutely.
But what the question, what you should be angry about is, why was Earl so quiet about it?
Why was Earl quiet? Where was he?
Because he's never answered any of my emails. I've sent him emails. He never answered any of them. Not one.
Well, see, that's, yeah, give me 1 second here now. I sent Earl, as a union president, tons of emails, because the Phoenix pay system for public service, my union warned, at the time it was the Conservative government, not to buy this payroll system, because it totally destroyed the Australian public service pay system and the California pay system. Oh no, we're going to get it. It cost them something like $5-6 million. They've put almost $1 billion in trying to fix it. When they put it to Microsoft, I believe it was Microsoft who actually created the program, their response was, we have no idea why it's doing what it's doing. Literally. It's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, and it's, exactly.
Kelly, you addressed something here, this reform of the justice system is kind of well, I wouldn't say it's near and dear to my heart, but.
The justice system?
The justice system.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the courts and whatnot, but when you take a look at our justice system, I've had the opportunity of traveling a lot internationally too. I spent 13 years working out of Africa. So what you're speaking about, the leper, that child of the lepers, I seen myself.
Exactly.
Blindness,
Yep.
all sorts of things. And their social welfare system over there is big. Friday.
Yeah.
I know, I've seen all about it. But you have to lead this country to understand how corrupt this justice system is.
Yeah.
You do.
To find out how ineffective and inefficient it is.
Yep.
If we were concerned, seriously, we would take a look at where our money goes. What's it cost us to keep a police officer in our district? By the time you provide them a station, cars, uniform, the equipment, pension plans and whatnot, is $250,000 a year covered?
I'd probably go a little higher.
Okay, thank you. That's just one point. So what we need to ignite this magic system is one thing, two things. We need a victim and we need a perpetrator. And then it's hallelujah time forever there afterwards. Because when you take a look at the money that the public is willing to put into this justice system, police officers, court systems, clerks, judges, lawyers, prosecuting attorneys, defense lawyers and whatnot, then to shuffle them off down to some, and you worked in the institution, you told us. And we've got all sorts of, we've got prison guards, we've got social workers, we've got psychiatrists, psychologists in there. We'll teach them a trade when they're in there.
Yep.
Wow.
You're absolutely right.
And then we slide them out the back door and they've got all kinds of support staff and probation officers and whatnot. This is a money-making scheme that our society puts up with, when really what we need to address is that magic spark between the perpetrator and the victim. I worked in Cuba for 5 years.
Yep.
Very interesting judicial system, and they're very effective and functional.
I agree.
And I became a good friend of what would be the equivalent of a captain in the Coast Guard, Fraga. And he himself, and I won't get into the whole story here, but Fraga spent 3 days running down a speedboat out south of Cuba in the islands there that they picked up coming in now. And when he finally caught them after 3 days chasing around out there was 3 people. It was an American and 2 Cubans in this speedboat loaded up with drugs coming into Cuba. Now, the only reason that drugs were coming into Cuba was to destabilize the population, because the money involved that those people have down there is not sufficient enough to make it profitable. Captured them, put them in the criminal system. 2 weeks later, one has got 25 years in jail, no parole, half of which is hard labor. The other 2 had 23 years, half of which was hard labor and no parole. Questions asked. 3 judge systems. I happen to know one of the judges down there, a grand person, very level-headed, logical person. 3 judge panel did the work. Why is it that we tolerate this in our country and we talk about this, changing these systems and new judges and new laws? We know the justice system is compromised. There is no law.
We have to have, sorry.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, I wanted to make sure.
Yeah. Thank you for hearing this.
No, we have to have people that are willing to go around the world and observe other justice systems and other prisons and everything else like that. One of the things that I always did when I was traveling around the world, even after the military, I would always ask to go, it sounds stupid, but now that I think about it, but I always asked to go and visit prisons wherever I went, because I wanted to see the difference between our prisons and other prisons around the world. So I've been in prisons in the UK, Scotland, Cuba, Mexico. Everywhere I go, I ask to go, right? And it's very, very interesting. Have any of you ever seen the inside of Bowden Institution? Not as a prisoner, I hope. Okay. Sorry, I had to throw that out there. No, but
Sorry, yeah, it was
no, but honestly, yeah, it's the judge's fault. I hear that all the time.
No, I was a volunteer.
And what's it look like?
Well, to be honest with you, I was in the courtyard and I got into the church kind of thing.
Okay, so you just went, but you didn't, did you go to the back of the institution? Not really?
That's inside the wall.
Okay, so if you went to Bowden Institution, honestly, it looks like a college campus.
Oh, are you talking about the
annex.
annex?
No, not the annex, inside the fence.
Oh, okay.
Flowers everywhere. Like I worked at Edmonton Max, okay? And you don't really think about it. And I worked down in what was called segregation at the time. So that's where, you know, the worst of the worst are, and they can't play in the sandbox with everybody else kind of idea. And I transferred to Bowden because my son lived in Red Deer. And I'm like, I'm sorry? Yeah. Well, I'm sitting there going, there's something off here. And I'm like, wait a second, what is it? I could hear birds. Then I thought about it. Up in Edmonton, there's no birds. It's like, it's concrete everywhere. That's it. And it was really, really odd. But what struck me is even more strange at the time. My first day there, I was told, okay, prepare for evening activities. So I looked at my friend. I'm like, what does that mean? He goes, well, there's 730 inmates at Bowden Institution. We crack every inmate out of their cells and they come out. And I'm like, are you guys absolutely insane? There's like 30 of us and there's 700 of them. Like, but that's how it works, right?
So exactly what level is Bowden?
Bowden is a medium and minimum.
Medium and minimum.
Right.
Is it not primarily sex offenders?
Bowden is primarily sex offenders, yes.
How the heck is that medium security? I'm sorry, the reason I'm asking is our property is kitty corner to the penitentiary.
I knew I recognized it.
I had 4 kids
Yep.
that got on and off the school bus
Mhm.
every day. And we had to make sure that one of us took them to the school bus,
Yep.
because at the time the farm was still running.
Mhm.
And the rule was when they got home, they ran like hell into the yard to a certain point. Then they could dawdle all the heck they wanted to get to the house.
Mhm.
You had to be able to-
But you were more worried about the minimum security inmates rather than the medium.
All of those farm workers
Mhm.
had nothing left other to do than watch for routine.
Mhm.
Like, we never hear when somebody escapes.
Well,
We hear it on the radio.
you know what? In all honesty, I'm only aware of one offender that escaped from there many years ago. Sorry. Sorry.
The one that took the fire truck?
No, this fellow actually literally went over both fences and was gone out the backside by the minimum and was gone. I think they caught him 2 weeks later. But this is where, for me as a union president, getting into an argument with the warden, and I get the Bowden Institution is unescapable.
That's bull, because there has been at least 3 of them in the last 4 years.
Trust. Oh, I know. I've tracked one of them. No, I get it.
One night we had frickin' guards and dogs all over our yards. They didn't even let us know they were coming in. They just showed up. And
That's the one that walked away, right? Yeah, I tracked that guy. No, we did find him, but yes, I'm aware of that.
Right? Like,
So-
on that story, how can it be minimum security? Really, honestly.
How can we allow them to work in our community?
Well, the thing is, that I'm getting too far down that rabbit hole.
And I apologize.
No, that's fine.
I guess
I'm just trying to-
the reason it bothers me so much.
Yeah.
Is again, we're talking about this passport mandate and all this stuff, they have the right to do and go and be anything they want to be. And we have no rights, really, to kind of deal with them.
No, you don't.
Right? And yet, if we want to go buy a freaking roll of toilet paper at Walmart, we're supposed to have a vaccine passport. That just...
Okay.
I'm done.
Okay. I wanted to make sure I heard you out there. So just to give you an example, one of the jobs that I do at Bowden Institution, or did at Bowden Institution, just so you all are aware, was hostage negotiation and suicide prevention, suicide negotiation. Talk people down from suicide and that. We didn't have a whole lot of hostages, only once I think it happened, but that ended up working itself out. So when I talk to you about having the skill set and the tools to be able to represent you as constituents in Ottawa, I'm not a math teacher, sorry, but I've worked in a sawmill in Sundre. Okay, I've worked from the military, federal corrections, understand, like I said, all of these different areas. That's what, in my mind, that's what I would want as a representative in Ottawa to be able to bring, work life experience to help deal with these issues instead of dealing with the stupidity that we're dealing with right now. Sorry, that's the only way. I'm trying to be a little bit nice here, but I just, no, I believe it or not, I actually don't use stronger words even in normal life, so I feel bad when I do use them. Yeah.
Kelly, I just wanted to say, we all support you, I realize that. But your biggest promoters the last few weeks for people going to BC is the newspapers pushing O'Toole, Trudeau, the agenda, and Basin Kenny.
Yeah.
And when people read the newspaper, watching what Trudeau, O'Toole, and Kenny are doing,
yeah,
people are going purple in the ears.
Absolutely they are.
It's going to blow your mind what's going on.
I'm honestly,
Nobody trusts the media anymore.
no, I don't trust the media either. But in all honesty, like, okay, so I've done, pardon me?
Nobody trusts the media, she's right.
Yeah, I don't trust the media either, but in all honesty, I think I've done, I want to say 5 interviews. I got a phone call the other day going, oh, you did a great radio interview the other day. And I'm like, I did a radio interview? Totally forgot. But I've done 5 interviews with the newspapers and that, and they've all actually quoted me very, very accurately. And not in a bad way, which is surprising. Well, I was quite pleased. I mean, so give you an example. So the girl that does my, I call her my media relations girl. She taught media at the University of Calgary. She ran the radio station. She ran the newspaper at the University of Calgary. So I trust her 100%. And when she says, oh, great job, or they did great, I take it for what it's worth, because I honestly don't have the time to read it. But you're absolutely right. Everything that they're throwing out there right now, and Trudeau is giving us gold. Aaron O'Toole is giving us gold. Kenny's helping us too. Like, so what day is it today? Today's Tuesday. Sorry, that's blending. On Friday, Max is back in Calgary, doing a big event in Strathmore. Okay, with I think his name is Randy Hillier.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And Dr. Patrick Moore.
Wow.
Big event, and that'll be in Strathmore, and it should be quite interesting. That's Friday, 4 till 8 o'clock in Strathmore, right across from PV in Strathmore. If you've never met Max, if you've never heard him speak, would highly, highly recommend that you try and get there, because I've never met a man that's more genuine ever in my life. I've had the opportunity to meet his wife. She's a fantastic lady. They're both very, very down to earth. We hear a lot about, Max is from Quebec. I don't trust a Frenchman. It happens all the time. I mean, I even told Max that the other day. Nobody trusts a Frenchman. He just laughed, right? But I'm the Albertan from Quebec. Yeah. You know, because Max and I can laugh, right? Yes, they still don't trust you. We tried to convince Max to move to Alberta. He does have a property here, but I mean, he wants to win back in Beauce, which is fine. So what's going to happen after this election? Max is going to appoint a Western Canadian representative for Manitoba to BC. That representative is going to come from Alberta. So.
And make it an Albertan.
It's going to be an Albertan. Yeah.
No, I don't mean somebody that just moved here from Ontario to.
They don't parachute somebody in. Yeah.
Okay. Rumor has it it might be me. No, yeah. Rumor has it might be me. What I do for Max, I train all of the candidates right across the country. All the candidates call me when they have an issue. So you wonder why I'm putting in these 18-hour days? It's because the candidates are getting a hold of me. We just got a video of Nathan Cooper up north, wherever he is, on video saying that he doesn't support the mandatory vaccinations and vaccine passports. So we sent that to the Conservative Party of Canada, so he's probably going to be removed.
He's just down here.
Oh, is it down here?
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought he was up north.
Sits in legislature, he heads up the group there.
Sorry, not Nathan Cooper, Michael Cooper.
Oh, no.
Michael Cooper. He's an MP. He's the one that got in trouble a while back and was reprimanded by, I think he was reprimanded by Andrew Scheer before last election.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on the October 18th referendum potential for, challenging Constitution for like equalization to having Senate terms? What's the ability, like there's 5 or 6 things that were put in play. What's the ability for traction on that?
It's a waste of money. Absolute waste of money, smoke and mirrors. Who created the equalization formula that we're currently using? Jason Kenney. Why would he want to change his legacy? That's his legacy. I mean, the Constitution is very, very clear. I don't know if you were here when we were talking about equalization, that it takes about 2 hours to redo the formula, okay, in caucus. There are I believe two seats coming up for the Senate for Alberta. The People's Party of Canada will have candidates for that selection of those Senate seats as well, which is huge, right? That's a good progression for the party to move forward and actually have a voice in the Senate as well. I have no idea who that might be. Max just said we're going to have 2. Questions? More questions? I like you already.
I'm going to vote for you. No,
That's a question?
No.
No, I'm teasing.
I'm just qualifying.
No, I appreciate that.
Qualifying for
Yeah.
jumping on.
Yeah, no,
Not jumping on.
no, jump on me because you know what? It challenges me and I like that.
Okay, Kelly. I like what you stand for. Database. I really, truly do. And I accept it, and it aligns with my feelings and thinkings precisely.
Mhm.
However, we keep hearing the same names come. We talk about Trudeau, the Conservative leadership, Christina Freeland, Jason Kenney,
Mhm.
The travesties that's happened to Alberta here. And there's a link through all of this.
Mhm.
There is a definite link through all of this. And the people of Alberta shouldn't pat themselves too hard on the back because they're going to break their arms, self-congratulating themselves. Because we haven't even asked what happens to our Heritage Trust Fund twice.
Mhm.
Now let's go back in time and history here. And I'm not hollering at you here, but
No, holler.
I'm talking
used to it.
honestly. I'm talking honestly.
Yep.
about this stuff. If we take a look at this, there's a direct link right straight through and it crosses all party lines and it crosses everything. Jason Kenney, there's no mistake that he is sitting in where he is right now, parachuted in to Alberta.
Mhm.
Prentice tried, never made it. He died in an airplane crash.
That's right.
Think that's a mistake?
Nope.
Nope, nor do I. Ralph Klein, When he got socially unacceptable to the populace of Alberta, out the door he went.
Yep.
Short time later, rapid case of Alzheimer's. He's gone. His handler, Rod Love, shortly thereafterwards died of a heart attack. This is talking pretty serious stuff here.
Oh, trust me.
I've never heard the word mentioned anywhere. We talk about the connection here. Let's talk about Encana. What Encana has done internationally, how Encana got a start in this country. It goes right back to Confederation, and they pull up stakes and move down to Texas or wherever they went here this spring. When is it that we are going to realize that this is not about small party politics on a national level? When are we going to hear the words Bilderberger Group? When are we going to hear the words Council of Foreign Relations? When are we going to hear the words COM 300? When are we going to hear the words, what about Mr. Schwab from the World Economic Forum? We're talking about vaccine mandates here and arms confiscation globally.
I can tell you that I get thrown that stuff at me all the time.
And I just encourage.
Well, I can tell you this. So maybe not so much.
Christina Friedland.
Yep.
Is a scary, scary individual.
Yeah.
Yes, she is.
Terrifying to me.
Well, she has direct connections with George Soros.
Yeah, she comes right out of this is a girl right out of the World Economic Forum, Schwab's.
So is Michelle Rempel.
That's exactly. She had us fooled for a long time.
Well, I'm going to give you, I'll give you an example. So who knows what the IPC is? Interparliamentary Committee, okay? So it's a committee that every government around the world's got what's called an IPC, an Interparliamentary Committee. You work with other foreign governments. So senators sit on this in Canada, sitting MPs sit on this, and there's roughly about 200 members. Michelle Rempel sits on the executive of this, and if you read the constitution on the IPC, they are bound by anything that the United Nations mandates to this IPC. Okay, so we're talking oil and gas, we're talking the Paris Accord, we're talking all of these things. Earl Grecian sits on that IPC.
What a surprise.
But so I'll leave you, not leave you, but I'm going to say this. Preston Manning put it very, very clearly in his last book. If we don't get involved in politics, we're going to be governed by those who do want to be involved, and we're not going to like the result. And where are we now? We don't like the result. We're complaining about it, but we're Canadians are known around the world as pretty passive people. Yeah. We're very polite and very passive. It's time to civil disobedience. Max said it very, very clearly. When tyranny becomes law, revolution becomes your duty.
Yes.
Right? And that's where we're at. Yes. You know, we have to start wanting to fight back.
Charlie, Max is a result of this collusion. Max's situation he's in right now, when we look back at how he got to where he's at now, is a direct result of this cooperation and collusion within that intergroup we're talking about. There's nobody that can unify politicians in Canada faster than Max Bernier.
No. No. So
they look at what they do in every other groups.
He's not always successful. Just to give, so you talk about parachuting in. And of course, everybody talks about Derek Sloan. Derek Sloan phoned Max because Derek is running in the Airdrie Banff riding. Derek phoned Max and said, "You need to tell your candidate in the Airdrie Banff riding to resign because I'm going to run in that riding." And Max is like, "Absolutely not." So if you all know who she is, it's Nadine Wellwood. Very good friend of mine. Okay. She's an awesome, awesome lady. Derek didn't like that answer, so he phoned Randy Hillier and had Randy Hillier phone Max. Absolutely not. It's not going to happen. Derek Sloan was offered 3 times a position within the People's Party of Canada high up position. He refused that. His exact answer to Max was, "I want to be prime minister." Well, you know, you're only a 2-year member of parliament. I mean, you know, the reason Jason Kenney got the position he got provincially is because he was promised that he would get the prime minister's chair, having transitioned from Alberta politics back up to federal politics. It's not going to work with him anymore. Yeah.
Kelly, I got a question, and it's kind of, it's not necessarily part of your platform, but because you know things internationally.
I try to.
You know, with the Nuremberg Code.
Yep.
That's real, right?
Absolutely, it's real. Nuremberg Code was formulated after World War II, when Hitler, or not Hitler, because he supposedly killed himself. But yes, the Nuremberg Code is real, and the vaccinations is a violation of the Nuremberg Code. Look at what the Germans were doing during World War II. They were testing. Exactly. So, no, the Nuremberg Code is real. Very real. Yep. Absolutely, we did. Canada paid, and this is what bothers me about, especially for veterans. Canada contributed so much during both World Wars. We sacrificed so much, and now we're just forgetting about our veterans. I'm going to give you a story about our veterans. Most of you probably don't know this. So I've had a lot of friends killed overseas, Afghanistan and all around the world. Okay. A veteran that gets injured, let's say in Afghanistan, let's say he gets his legs blown off or a hand blown off. Do you know that every year that veteran needs to go to his doctor and get a doctor's note for Veterans Affairs to show that those limbs have not grown back? I'm not kidding you. I was actually trying to get orthotics, okay, and the girl at the Veterans Affairs goes, orthotics has nothing to do with your knees. And I'm going, if it doesn't have anything to do with your knees and lower back, then I'm in a totally wrong place. I mean, you know, it's just, she's not overly wrong. I mean, but it's just the ridiculousness of it. I had a veteran on Saturday, literally coming up to me in tears. I've had veterans all across, I travel all across the country with Max, and literally come up to me in tears, but what are we going to do about Veterans Affairs? So, has any of you ever heard of Equitas Society? It's a law firm out of BC that's been fighting for veterans. We based our veterans platform off of the Equitas, and we want to have a charter of rights for veterans and a bill of rights for veterans, and we want to enshrine veterans benefits in law so the government can't come away and take it away. So that's our policy platform. On Saturday, the Equitas Society actually openly endorsed Maxime Bernier and the People's Party of Canada, which is huge. Yeah. Any more questions? See, I like I said, I can talk all night. I enjoy this. I can answer questions all night, but.
Kelly, I'd like to just read a headline from the Epic Times.
The Epoch Times?
Epoch Times.
Sure.
Well, the guy in the commercial says it the wrong way, so that's why I said it the
No,
wrong way.
it's, I just want to make sure I understand.
If anybody wants a really actually legitimate news source, the Epoch Times is.
They're pretty fair.
Yes.
Yes.
And so this is a headline out of the newspaper. Liberals plan to revoke charity status.
Yep.
For groups deemed anti-abortion.
Yep.
Now, an average person is not going to really understand the ramifications of this.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody suggests that for any reason they have an issue with abortion, for any reason, that the government will basically revoke their charitable status.
Who does that affect the most?
Well, see, Obama tried this in the States, and all the leaders of all the Salvation Army, Mustard Seed, all these huge organizations basically said to Obama, if you do this, we're going to shut down tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, the social security net of the states would basically collapse overnight. And Jim Prentice tried this.
Mm-hmm.
He was on the path to revoke charitable status.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, Canada.
But that's gonna go after the churches.
Exactly. That's my point. That's what I was just about to say. That goes after the churches.
And
They're already going after
the
the
last PPC candidate.
Paul?
Riding.
Paul Mitchell?
Yes. They said they were going, if they were elected, the first thing that they would do was they would table legislation to limit abortion to 24 weeks.
Yeah.
Now,
So
I do not want to cause a bunch of controversy.
Nope.
However, Canada is in the absolute dark ages when it comes to this. Europe, I mean, you can go to Europe and smoke every kind of drug imaginable in a restaurant.
Mm-hmm. I know. I've been.
And even in
Not that
Europe,
I've smoked there, but
they
yeah.
are not as so evil and wicked and barbaric as Canada. They
Mhm.
limit abortion to 20 weeks.
Yep.
And so I know Maxim is, he's basically allowing everybody to vote their conscience
Yes.
on that. So how can I say this in a fair way? I don't want to cause a bunch of controversy.
What's my position on abortion?
But what I'd like to be able to, at least, there's a bunch of people that I've been following this for many years.
Yeah.
On many other different topics. And there's a bunch of people that basically lean on me and ask me who they should vote for.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to be able to say, hey, maybe Kelly is a small p pro-life, maybe he's not a big P pro-life, but I'd like to be able to go back with some positive information then to say, hey, I can in good conscience say this person values life.
Yep. I knew you were getting to the abortion question, so that's why I was waiting. I understand exactly what you say. So Paul Mitchell is a very good friend of mine. Laura Lynn Thompson is a very good friend of mine. I'm one of those fathers that tried to adopt. Okay. The process was far too long, too much red tape. It just was, it's ineffective. The support systems for women or girls, whatever you want to call, that it's almost non-existent, and when they make a choice to have an abortion, there's not enough support systems there to help them through anything. It is my intention, when I'm elected, how's that? It is my intention to take that bill that Paul Mitchell and Laura Lynn Thompson created and present that in front of government. Absolutely, 100%. And I still get emails from families in Calgary, Nose Hill. That's one thing about door knocking. Door knocking can be quite fun, but it can also be very, very, not so much painful, but it can bring up a lot of emotions. And I've had a lot of families sit there, knock on the door, and they literally start crying to you at the door. And you're trying to go, I got to go to the next house here, but I don't want to leave them, right? But I still get emails from those families, and I still answer those emails, 4 years later. And there's so many families out there that want to adopt. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't, not that I'm saying that the women are wrong, but the thing is, if they had a better support system in place, we could help them. This is getting back to family and community. This is about addressing the thing. We're missing the boat on everything because we don't want to put the proper support systems in place. That makes no sense to me. So like I said, you're probably all very well aware of Max's position on abortion. He doesn't believe in late-term abortion. He calls that infanticide. He doesn't believe, everything that we've said here. But yes, it is my intention to bring that bill forward and, for debate in the House once I get there. Absolutely.
But
So.
you're right, there's a lot of very wonderful people out there that can't have
Mhm.
whatever reason, that you make a major difference.
You know what? I'm going to share something with you that I don't normally share with anybody. This is my sort of family. So my son, not my stepsons, because I got 3 boys, but my son. I had my son through donor program, so he's not biologically mine, but he's still my son in every way, shape, or form, because my wife wanted a child. That process is hugely expensive. Hugely expensive. Fortunately, we were successful, but not everybody is, right? So I just believe that we need to give people who want to be parents the opportunity to be a parent. But we also have to recognize the people, the young women that are going through this. It's terrifying. I remember I was 19, 20 years old when my wife was pregnant for the first time with my oldest daughter. I was terrified. I remember, honestly, I remember distinctly going up to my dad and going, I don't want this. I don't even know what I'm doing. And thankfully, my dad is like, you know what? You're in this now. Get married and take care of him. And honestly, best decision of my life. I love my girls to death, right? So we need to start addressing the difficult issues. We need to start asking the difficult questions. We need to start debating the Conservative Party won't even bring it up.
Well, that's because nobody wants to talk about it.
That's what I'm saying. We need to start the debate.
It's that thing you talk about
It's
behind the curtain.
a stigma,
Yeah.
right? We need to get away from the stigma of all of this. And if we can,
It's just like mental health, like you were saying earlier.
Yep.
Nobody's talking about suicide rates and stuff. It's exactly the same kind of stigma.
Yep.
Why?
Yeah.
I'd like to know where you stand on immigration.
We have too much of it. Quite honestly, we need to reduce our immigration. Immigration right now is the leading cause of increase in supply and demand, right? So increasing the housing prices, and that makes it houses unaffordable for a lot of the younger generation. Never mind the younger generation, even myself, well, I shouldn't say that, but, I had to work my butt off, politically correct, to get where I've been now. But not everybody has that opportunity. We need to stem our immigration. I believe that we need to put a halt right now, even a temporary halt, on what's called the Temporary Foreign Workers Program. We have Albertans that are out of work, and Albertans need to be put to work first and foremost. If we're going to bring in immigration, Max wants to flip it around, where 75% are skilled workers that are going to contribute to the economy, and 25% is unification, right? Unification of families and actual immigrants. I find it kind of ironic, so I'm going to throw this twist at you. And it's not that I'm against it, but it's just the realities of this. So everybody's going LGBTQ. Tons and tons of LGBTQ. And that's fine. I don't judge people on that. But what LGBTQ wants is more and more exposure, but they're bringing in more and more immigrants that kill LGBTQ.
Yeah.
So wouldn't you want to be, I'm sorry?
Because they're terrified of them. That's against their religion.
It's against their religion. They throw them off buildings.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, like, I've got a lot of family, not a lot, I've got a few family members that are gay and that, and, oh, Kelly, all of this stuff about LGBTQ. I'm like, you know what, that's your life. I don't care. Just be aware that these people, 400,000 a year, want to kill you. Why would you want it out more? Right? That's your choice. it doesn't affect me. But as far as I'm concerned, if you're happy, and it's just like the masks. If that's what you choose, that's what you choose.
Well, the problem is they're celebrating now in full season. There was once upon a time, they had a day, then it turned to a month. Now Trudeau says it's a LGBTQ season. Whereas for 3 months, they get to have their gay parades, which I believe is totally wrong. I believe it's all a mental issue that has to be.
Well, gender dysphoria is real. Okay, that's right in the DSM, what's called the DSM-5. Gender dysphoria is real. But my concern is more this. We don't even give a month for our veterans. We don't even give a month for Remembrance Day for the sacrifices of our soldiers around the world. Why would we give it for a sexual orientation? That's my own personal opinion. I'm sorry if you don't like it, but that's just...
Drag queens reading to children in libraries. Or is that?
Oh, yeah. You're really going for the... that's a sore point for me.
It might not be so much in Canada, but
Well,
we're seeing it worldwide. We're seeing
right.
more of the slippery slope
This
there.
is the woman
But,
at the
look-
Innisfail parade, watched Earl Gleason in his convertible going by, waving, and Devin right behind him in the back of his pickup. And both of them know us, we know them personally, and they saw us on the sidelines and waved, and Shauna yells out, "Hey, haven't seen you guys in a year and a half."
Yeah. I have to be honest with you, I wouldn't participate in one of those parades. That's just my own personal what have you.
Probably could.
But let's talk a little bit about let's talk about a little bit about that, and so transgenderism and the correctional system real quickly. So I can tell you this, I do know that there was a male inmate that identified as a female, okay? Requested a transfer to a female prison. Took it to court and won. They transferred him to a female prison. What was that offender in jail for? Raping women. So exactly my point, right? We need to start addressing these things smartly, right? You know what? There's a lot of different things that we could go. Any more questions?
What's the PP's standing on like the crown, queen, royal family? Can we get them out of Canada, please?
Max's position, I'm trying to remember because he was asked that question on Saturday. Let me think about it. I'm pretty sure that Max says that they don't represent Canada anymore. I think he wants to move away from that. Max, it was asked about the oath. That's what it was.
But we are still under the crown.
We are under the crown, yes.
They don't really.
It's just ceremonial.
Right, it's ceremonial. So Max was asked about when you're elected to Parliament, you have to give an oath of allegiance to the Queen. Max has clearly said, and I agree with Max 100%, my oath isn't going to be to the Queen, my oath is going to be to the citizens of Canada. Yeah. Yeah.
You got my vote, Kelly.
No, thank you.
And that's what I'm going to be recommending to the people that asked you.
I certainly appreciate that. Yeah.
What can people do to help you for the election?
You know what? At this point right now, it's not about helping me. I could have used the help delivering signs a long time ago, but we were just overwhelmed with signs. Right now, quite honestly, because of the concern over cheating within the election, I need help with scrutinizers. I need probably about 100. I don't know how many my team has got so far. I need people to help make sure that this is done fairly, because it wouldn't surprise me if they cheated.
Do we need to commit to a day or?
Just no. I don't know how my team is running it, but if you're interested in scrutinizing, send me an email. I'll give you all my email here at the end of the night. And what I'm going to do is forward your name to my guy that's running this for us. For me, that's the most important role in all of this, right? And it's like I tell everybody, well, I try to tell everybody, the stars of this election isn't me. It's you all. It's you all who are the ones who have to make this choice. The weight's on your guys' shoulders. I'm just the one put my name forward. How we decide to move forward as a community is up to us. Yeah.
What's a concern with splitting votes between conservative and PPC?
Yep.
As well as, where do you guys stand on the whole free speech and that C-10 bill constitution?
Yeah, we're gonna repeal that. The free speech thing.
Because there's already we already have laws on free speech.
Exactly.
So I'm not understanding why they would even want to pursue more.
Because you hurt their one feeling that they have. They broke the crayons and they want to go home.
And the splitting votes?
Splitting of the vote. So I'm going to ask you this question, and I'll direct it to you because you asked the question. Sorry, I'm putting you in a spotlight. Is the Conservative Party entitled to your vote?
No.
Do they have to earn it?
Yeah.
What have they done to earn it?
Nothing for a long time.
Yeah, there's been things.
Okay, has Earl?
Ideologies that they stand for are almost the same thing. You guys are just a little bit more conservative.
You're waffling here. Sorry, but what has Earl done to earn your vote? Then you're not splitting the vote.
No.
I think of it this way. Yeah, give me 1 second. I think of it this way. Everybody's tired of cases because of this COVID virus, right? It's fear mongering, not based off of fact. Think about vote splitting as the same sort of thing, except instead of the virus of COVID-19, use Justin Trudeau. Because everybody's going, oh, got to get rid of Trudeau. Didn't work for you last election either. Vote for something that you value. Vote for something rather than against something.
That's what I've been telling them.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I address that particular topic?
Yeah.
It's something I get all the time. Now, unless I've heard from specifically people in this riding have gone absolutely bad. How many people do you know who voted Conservative, who would 70% more Liberal right now? Anybody? Zero. Exactly. Last election, the Conservative Party took 84% of the vote. So I did an analysis. I said, what if we took just half of those, and added them to what the People's Party had? That would put us at 44%. 42% for the Conservatives. And the closest to come up would be the NDP at less than 7%. It is statistically impossible, especially in Alberta, except for maybe a few places in Edmonton. It can't happen.
I like my version better.
Yeah.
I agree with him 100%, and he's absolutely right.
Definitely a concern.
But it's not a concern because, like I just said to you, what have they done to earn your vote?
Conservatism that are not.
The Conservatives are not conservative anymore.
Yeah.
Conservatives and liberals are two heads to the same.
You're right. Absolutely.
I'd just like to say that was a major concern for me.
Yep.
Okay, so actually I went on YouTube.
Yep.
And there was a guy last election that actually broke down every riding across the whole thing, across the whole country, and basically said there are some places in Ontario where that's a concern, but here not at all.
In Alberta, it's not a concern.
And we need, no matter what, we need to send a message to Dreeshen that this whole garbage, I'm like,
But the fear.
I sent them so many emails, they don't respond. They kick Rebel News out of their events.
Yeah.
That's the only ones protecting conservative rights. And I just got one more thing real quick. Look at O'Toole. O'Toole is liberal light.
Yeah.
There's nothing conservative about him. Nothing at all.
If you're going to vote out of fear, right now, because that's what splitting of the vote is. It's a fear-mongering tactic. My question to you is this: what leader right now is speaking out against mandatory vaccinations and vaccine passports? The only one speaking out against it is the PPC.
got tossed in jail for it too.
Yeah. How many candidates do you have running across Canada?
So there's 328 ridings in the country. We're running 321. We missed the candidate for Calgary Centre, didn't get enough signatures. And we vetted out a few people for obvious reasons. I mean, we've got some, even I get sent these things about the candidates all across the country, and I'm going, really? Yeah, like we picked this guy. Like the one guy took a picture of his face and then superimposed it on Prince William's body.
Oh my God.
And then got called out for it. And I said, oh, but that was his banner. I'm like, really? Like you couldn't have gone out and like got a picture in a suit and like, you know, when I'm training the candidates, like not a word of a lie. Like I was up in Edmonton and Max was there. This is about a month or so ago. When I have to tell candidates to wear a clean shirt, okay, comb your hair, they all listen because Max listens to me and they see that, but I shouldn't have to tell you that. So I want to be a part of the selection process. Yep.
So what's the difference between the last election? How many ran and what was your?
We ran 328 last election. We ran a full slate.
How many got in?
None. Max lost his seat as well. So right now, so are you familiar with what happened to Max in that riding? Okay, so that actually went to court. Max sued Warren Kinsella for defamation and actually won. So that's a good thing for the PPC. The Conservative Party actually hired another person. How they found him is beyond me, with the same name, Maxime Bernier, and ran him on the same ballot in Beauce where Max is, right? And then on top of that, so every candidate has got a spending limit that they have in their riding. Okay, give you an example. Earl Dreeshen's spending limit in this riding is $125,000. I'm not even close to that. Okay, so in Beauce, the candidate spent the $125,000 as an example, and then the Conservative Party put another $20 million into that riding to ensure Max did not get that seat. That's how determined they were for Max not to get his seat.
So they cheated.
I'm sorry?
So they cheated.
Of course. They did. Can we talk a little bit about the leadership race and Max? Okay, so I've asked Max about this, and I've asked people that have actually attended the leadership race for the Conservative Party. Max ran under this exact platform for the Conservative leadership of the Conservative Party. So it's not 49% of Conservatives supported this platform. Where they are right now, we're starting to get them back now, obviously. What happened was 7,000 new ballots appeared out of nowhere. So that 7,000 ballots was actually the dairy producers out of Quebec. So as soon as they went to after the election, you scrutinized the votes, you went to look at the ballots were destroyed before Max could scrutinize them.
Yeah.
He unified the Conservative Party.
He did.
Absolutely.
He absolutely did. And you know what? I applaud Max. You know, if you listen to some stories, Max is funny. Like, man, I've been driving all around Alberta with Max. There's nothing funnier than listening to a Frenchman argue with a media on the phone driving down the road. Because I can hear the media on the phone and they're yelling at him and he's funny. Oh my gosh. You know, the biggest thing we were talking about, Max did an interview with the Western Standard. It was a video, and he called Jay Hill a Muppet. And we're killing ourselves laughing in the car, and he didn't understand. He meant to call Jay Hill a puppet, not a Muppet. So we had to explain to him the Muppets, and the old man said, when he figured that out, he was killing himself laughing.
So it was a perfect mistake.
It was an honest mistake. It was perfect.
Viva Pride.
I'm sorry?
Viva Pride.
Enlighten me here.
He's a PPC candidate out of Quebec.
Is that the podcast?
Yeah.
The podcast guy? I don't know much about him.
I follow him and he seems to be.
I can tell you this. I don't have much of a life. Okay, so if I'm not living out of my truck, I'm literally at home reading the. I guarantee you, I'm going to go to my phone. I'm going to have 45 emails.
He's a legislator and a podcaster and works with Barnes, the lawyer, the constitutional lawyer in the States.
Okay, so I'm sure he's brilliant. I honestly just don't have the time for that. So we'll tell you this. Every home in this riding, there's just under 58,000 homes in this riding. Every home in this riding is going to receive a rack card from me this week prior to the election. So that's 58,000 homes. That's awesome. And if I can answer any more.
Signs?
Sorry?
What about signs?
I've got signs in the truck if you want.
Yeah, we want.
Sure.
Just a quick question, and I just ran into this actually with my own kids. How would you answer if somebody says to you, but I'm just one person, I can't make a difference? And I know how I answer.
Okay, so I'll give you my answer.
Yes, please.
Okay, so when I go to Ottawa, I represent you all. I want to be able to consult the constituents of this riding. So my intention is this: 3 weeks in Ottawa, not remote out of my home or wherever. I plan on being in Ottawa, and 1 week here in the riding, where I plan on having a town hall in the riding during that week. Okay, and that's to inform you all of what's going on, ask you how you want me to vote. You catch that? How I want how you guys want me to vote. I'm one vote in the House, but I represent thousands of votes, and that thousands of votes is strong. So to say that you're just one vote, sure, you could think of it that way, but you could also think that I'm a part of a bigger picture.
Yes,
and that's that bigger picture. That's what matters.
You're one, I'm one. Everybody else is doing.
That's right.
But we're not. All of a sudden, it's not just one, right?
No, now we're unified.
Right?
Now we're a community, right? And that's why I keep saying we need to get back community,
Definitely.
right? Yeah.
And when people start caring, they can make a difference.
You tell Chance that
It affects so many people.
Well, that's exactly it. When we have I would love nothing more than to go to the Legion in Innisfail, mask-free, and have a big event where we have 1,000, 2,000 people in there asking me questions. I'm asking you questions. I'm getting feedback from you. And then honestly, I don't know if this is good or bad. I've been compared to when I do speeches out and about that I'm a lot like Ralph Klein. I very much speak my mind. I don't sugarcoat things, which can be good sometimes, can be bad. But I'm also the type of person that if I'm out and about, we did it the other night. If you see me, come over and say hi. I'm putting my name out there to represent you. You should, if you want to come and say hi, then that should be okay. Michelle Rempel just lost her mind. Her husband jumped up and was going to beat up this guy that was questioning her on Charles Schwab. But at the end of the day, no, I'm, and that's what I don't understand about Earl. You put your name out there to represent the people. You should be accessible to the people. And that doesn't matter if I'm,
constituents and throwing them in the COVID hotels.
Well, you know what I want to use the COVID hotels for? Jails for politicians.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, any more questions, guys? I know it's late and I apologize, but I enjoy doing this. I don't like them. No, I'm kidding.
Rebel Media reported that they're training pilots.
Yep.
In the place up by Deer.
Yep.
I think it was Rebel Media that had a story about our military training, the Chinese military to fight people in cold climates. Well, guess what? We have a cold climate. So like, how do we take on China?
We kick them out, for one. And quite honestly, so I'm going to ask you this question. What is Canada's role in what they call this New World Order?
That's a really good question.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry?
Is to stand at attention and salute and wait for the next order.
Oh, possibly. Actually, Canada's role in what they call this New World Order, it's got nothing to do with our natural resources. It's got nothing to do with our farming. We won't be doing any of that. It's to train militaries. Canada is supposed to be the training ground for the world army because we have all of the environments, right? The hot weather, the cold weather, the mountain warfare. We can do the jungle warfare, all of these things. So, food for thought.
That makes perfect
It does. I'm sorry?
Yeah, and they won't need us, will they?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're expendable.
Well, that's what we're thinking, but if you think about it, we're using dirty oil from Saudi Arabia. We've got clean oil here.
Yes, and they don't want it.
They don't want it, right? So if you think about it, it makes sense. I've lost a whole bunch of people. I'm talking too much. Sorry, guys. You know what? Like I said, I can answer questions all night. I really enjoyed this because we get to laugh. You guys, and you guys get some honest answers. And I know bullshit. Sorry. That's just the way it is. And I apologize if that offends anybody because it's not really meant to.
It's very refreshing because the last couple of times that we've tried talking to either one of the Grecians, we just get
Bovine cost.
politician bullshit, pardon my French.
Well, you know what?
They go around in a circle and they never say anything.
Yep, I can tell you this. I'm not a career politician, okay? I believe that I should be accountable to you as a constituents. I believe that I should be accessible to you as the constituents, but I also believe that term limits. I think I'm one of those people that believes that, after a certain amount of time, you need a new set of eyes on the issues, and that's how you fix the issues. Because if you spend 14 years of doing nothing, well, you're not really looking at the issues. You've lost sight of the issues.
But on the other hand, if you
Sorry.
if you
No.
spend 14 years doing stuff, doing good, then there's still room for you to keep doing good.
As long as I'm doing my job and the constituents are happy, like I say, if after 8 years, if I meet with the constituents and you say, you know what, we still support the PPC, but you're just not doing it for us, then I will help find a new candidate for the PPC to bring in here. But if you say to me, you know what, we like what you're doing, you're working for us, and we want you to keep moving forward, then I'll stay longer, right? I'm not doing this for the pension.
No.
Trust me.
No.
And I'm not doing it for the paycheck.
But see, that's the whole point. You can tell the people that are getting into it for the money.
Yes.
As opposed to getting into it for what they make a difference.
Yeah. You had a question?
The party, the Maverick Party, how do they compare?
Aside from trying to slander me on Facebook, you know what? The Maverick Party, well, think about it. Jay Hill, who was Jay Hill? Jay Hill was the party whip for the Conservative Party of Canada under the Harper government. Okay? His Twitter handle is Whip for Life. He just defended the Conservative Party of Canada in Ontario. Okay? Everything that the Maverick Party wants to try and achieve cannot be done without forming government. It can't. They're talking about constitutional change. They're talking about equalization change, oil and gas. They need to be able to form government in order to do that. They're allowed to run 110 candidates in Western Canada. They've got 30. Their leader isn't even running. So, I'm sorry? Well, do you guys know who actually started that party? I'm going to get into this deep here. I just know it. Peter Downing. So Peter Downing was Wexit Canada. Well, he was Wexit Alberta originally, and then we started the Wild Rose Independence Party. He got kicked out of that, and then he had Wexit Canada, and they started up this new Maverick Party, and then they kicked him out of that as well, and then he started doing this AB 51. So Alberta is the 51st state in the U.S. Which, if you want, you look like, what does that mean, right? Okay. Do I have time to get into it real quickly? Okay, I'll get into this. That's never going to happen, okay? So, separation as a country. Canada wants to separate as a country. Or Alberta, sorry. If you understand the Clarity Act says no, it's set up to fail. Okay, so what will happen is we'll use Jason Kenney as the scapegoat here. Jason Kenney has to go to Rachel Notley. Say, I want to go to Ottawa, ask for a referendum question on separation. Hypothetically, if Rachel Notley agrees, she won't, but if she does, then Jason Kenney goes to Ottawa. He meets with Justin Trudeau. They come up with a fair question on separation. They both agree. He brings it back. Albertans vote on that question. Well, what's the winning number? A lot of people say 50% plus one. The Clarity Act says it's got that, so 50% plus one is a simple majority. The Clarity Act says it's got to be a major majority, okay? But again, they didn't determine that prior. So once Albertans vote, then Jason Kenney goes back to Ottawa and says, we voted on this referendum and we got 70%. 70% of Albertans want to separate. Jason Kenney goes, you just missed it. You needed 72%. Sorry. Right? So it's set up to fail. But even beyond that, let's say, for example, we do vote that through and we want to become part of the U.S. Can we agree that Alberta would more align with the Republicans than the Democrats, right? So we would have 6 more Republicans and probably 2 senators, 2 governors, as an example, okay? Both Republicans. If you look at the Enabling Act in the United States, you need 2/3 of the House of Senate, 2/3 of the governors. So you've got the House of Senate and the House of Representatives, and then you have the president. Well, first of all, the Democrats control the House of Senate. They're never going to allow it. So it's done. The president right now that's sitting is a Democrat. He's never going to allow it.
He doesn't know he's a Democrat.
I don't even think he knows that he's sitting in the office, to be honest with you. I think, but at the end of the day, but that's the reality. So even to become a state in the U.S., it's just not going to happen. So people are being lied to and they're buying into it hook, line, and sinker. And okay, if I can research it, everybody can research it. It's just you have to want to research it. I just don't, again, I don't have the life. I just sit at home and...
How can the leader not be running? I don't get that.
I'm sorry?
How can the leader of the Maverick Party not be running in the constituency?
He can make a choice. Like Max could decide not to run, but then how legitimate is that? It doesn't make. Hill said that, I'm 68 years old and I really don't want, to be back in politics. Fair enough. I mean, that's an honest answer. But why are you the leader of the party?
Yeah, retire.
Retire and let somebody, but the thing is, who? Right? So there's a lot of different variables. I hope I've answered everybody's question tonight. I hope I've made you laugh. I hope I've given you some food for thought. And I'm available afterwards if you guys want to come up one-on-one and ask any questions.
I got one more.
Okay. See, there's always, I like it. No, that's okay. I like it because
When Harper was in, and I appreciated Harper and the fact that he was an economist and he took care of the budget and he did really well in so many ways.
Yep.
Never fixed our elections.
Nope.
Never fixed it so that, it is so, I get so pissed off on election night when they've already called it and our polls are still open for 2 hours.
Yeah.
We have no say in anything out here. That's how it feels.
But this is what I've been telling you. It will never ever be fixed, okay? Because you have to open up the Constitution in order to fix that. And literally, nobody will do that. No leader is going to open up the Constitution, because that's a can of worms that they just don't, it just won't happen.
Well, that's true.
I'm going to say, you can, come on. Yeah, I like your answers, but you're absolutely right. He signed the Paris Accord.
He wasn't all that great.
But at the end of the day, okay, and this is what I'm telling you, we have 38 members of parliament from Alberta. What have they done? Why wouldn't we send 20 even members of parliament?
Who can raise some hell?
Right, from the PPC. Mm-hmm. And why not allow Alberta to hold the balance of power? I could care less. No, I care, but I could care less what the rest of Canada does. If Alberta just said, you know what, we're sending PPC, we would hold the balance of power. We would move mountains.
I think you're going to.
I hope so, because honestly, the feistiness in me, I'm ready to go to Ottawa and pick a fight.
It's going to be raising little hell.
Oh, I'm ready to pick a fight, because I'm done. I want to be that person that, you remember when Trudeau...
See a meme where he keeps getting smacked?
Yeah, that was when he was in the...
Yeah.
Oh, but I want to be that next MP that gets into the ring with Justin Trudeau. Oh, no, that ain't a word of a lie. I want to... Never mind the gloves. Let's do MMA.
Yeah.
Right? I want to inflict some pain on you.
Yeah.
You know? And that's who I am, folks. Thank you for coming. Yeah.
One thing I realized, and on your publicity stuff for the PCC, it says common sense government.
Yep.
And that I appreciate. We have not had common sense government for forever.
Well, I laugh because Max is, if you see the billboards everywhere, we're getting a little bit of heat for that, but Max has said openly in media press conferences, and our billboards all say the other options suck.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not far off. But what did that do? That resonated with the younger generation, right? If you look at all of my signs, and there's one just out on the highway there, the common sense option.
Yeah.
I chose to go with the common sense option because, quite honestly, like I said, I'm one vote within my team, and my team didn't like the other options suck, so we came up with, right? That's flexibility. That's working together as my team, right? And that's the same sort of thing that I want to do with the people of the constituency.
But there really had two different any common sense anymore. We had two different signs.
Well,
we have to get back to that, just like we have to get back.
Right. We get down to the exact same thing that Preston Manning said. If we so don't want to get involved, but if we don't get involved, we're going to be governed by those who want to control us. And I don't know about you, I'm tired of being controlled.
We voted them in, well, we didn't vote them in, but I mean, to govern.
No, okay, but we voted in Earl.
Right.
And Earl.
Represent us.
Okay, so can I pull? No, I'm going to pull up a chair here. This is fun. I'm going to give you another example here. Good night, folks. Thanks for. Bye. See you later. Thanks for coming. Sorry. What were we talking about again? Earl. Right. Well.
Yeah, there's a song about Earl.
So, a couple years ago, it wasn't even that long ago, actually, it was right after the last election, Michelle Rempel came out with what she called the MPs from Alberta supported that Buffalo Declaration. How many Conservative MPs are in Alberta? 38. 4 Conservative MPs supported that Buffalo Declaration. That Buffalo Declaration was to put Alberta first. 4. So, in my opinion, and Earl wasn't one of them, but in my opinion, send 4 Conservative MPs to Ottawa and send the rest to PPC. Sorry. Well, it's Bill C6. Do you all know what that is? Bill C6 is the bill that was passed by the government that, so if your child decides to talk to you about their gender, where they want to change their gender, if you talk to them, if your pastor talks to them, if your psychologist talks to them, or your family doctor, the government comes in, takes your child away from you, and throws you in jail. Earl voted in favor of that.
Are you kidding?
Nope. That's documented online. You can find that. Hi.
Well, how does the majority of people decide who to vote for? By a sign on the road?
No, that equates to about 1%.
Okay, 1%.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I have heard nothing about the PPC. That's our fault. But we heard from a few people that it was on tonight.
Yeah.
And we're very glad we came.
Well, I'm glad you came.
Now, we'll talk to some people
No.
before the voting day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, we'll talk to some people
No.
before the voting day.
Absolutely.
You know, that's the effort. That's the control of this whole COVID fear thing.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate this.
Well, no, I'm glad. Thank you. You know, one of the things that the People's Party has been severely restricted is in the media. And then we called out the CBC, and now all of a sudden the People's Party is showing up on polls. But they can't ignore us anymore. Like Maxime was refused to be able to debate in the national leadership debate. Well, why? When the Green Party was polling at 2%, and at the time Maxime was polling at about 5%. Well, where are we polling now?
10%.
No, we're higher than that nationally. We're actually, nationally, we're sitting at almost 7%.
So they're already past the end.
Oh, yeah. Well, right in line with the NDP. In Alberta, right now, well, my media girl keeps calling me every morning, just thrilled, because in this riding, we're climbing through the roof right now. The PPC is sitting at about 25, 30%, roughly.
Oh, good. Wow.
So,
Kelly, where are you finding these numbers? Because I specifically looked for these numbers today.
Yeah.
Online from the most current polling data that's available traditionally. That's not the numbers you're sharing.
Yeah, no, you know, the polling for the national poll I get from, it gets sent to me, so I think it's 388 or something, or 338.
338 was on there today.
Yeah, so it's roughly that, the national one. I don't look at I don't look at Alberta's poll. I don't look at any polling. People just send it to me, and honestly, I don't look at it. When people talk to me about it, Max was the one who told me about the national polling. I don't follow the provincial polling and the riding polling because it just gets my anxiety up. I just have my media relation girl tells me, and I just plug my ears, quite honestly, because I take it for a grain of salt. Really, I personally don't trust the polling. We could be lower, we could be higher. Who knows? Really, I'm sorry, that's not a very good answer, but it's the only one I got.
So how do you come up with polling numbers when the vote hasn't happened yet?
How do I come up with them?
Like everybody talks about polling numbers. How do you know what those are?
You know what? Every party. So I'll give you an example. The Conservative Party of Canada came into this election with $80 million in their coffers, and they do polling. They poll to find out what is the interest of people, and they find out where they sit within the ridings and stuff like that. 338. It's 338, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It's a compendium.
Yeah, I mean, you got Gallup polling, you got the newspaper polling, and I honestly don't follow it because.
I think the polls will happen.
Yeah, exactly. The real poll happens on September 20th. Sorry, it's all blending. Yeah, but you know, we'll get a good indication on the 20th, no matter what the mail-in ballots say.
Don't you think the majority of people are gonna show up in person?
You know what? I'm hearing there's, at some polling locations, it's a 2-hour wait to get in. For the advanced polling, people are like,